From Russia with Love, sang Matt Monro, but this is from EA with Love, a strange Generation 6 handheld and console title that looks to recapture classic Bond and update it. How well does that go? Well, I promised a PSP title and I will deliver that, but we will also actually take a look at the big boy PS2 console port of the same name and look at the differences between the two. I actually rewatched the film as well, and I was going to give some thoughts on that, just a brief minor throwback when we get back to the part later on. So released in 2008, it sees Connery reprise his role for his own personal favourite Bond movie, adding new lines, and it would be the last time he would actually ever play Bond. Now, I have to say, as my own personal favourite, that adds a nice touch of authenticity to it all, because I really do love Connery's depiction of Bond. Though Spectre is now Octopus, as one of a few minor changes included. For some bizarre reason, Natasha Bedingfield is also in this. So it takes some pretty large liberties with the script, though sticking to the outlines of the set pieces which make up one of Bond's more sombre adventures, and elaborating on a concept that I think genuinely had legs. And this film was a good candidate to start with. It's just a pity they didn't pitch it as more of a Bond fan's way of enjoying an old classic. And I think maybe testing as an exclusive on the handheld might have been a good place to begin for EA here. But before I delve into a conclusion, let's have the discussion about the game. From Russia with Love is a third-person action game with minor cover and stealth mechanics made mandatory after Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, with bonus points awarded for taking down an enemy by stealth or for by shooting the highlighted points when in fine aim. But strangely, this is usually in the stomach, so it takes more shots than shooting them in the head and wasting precious ammunition as you go through the game. The major difference between the PS2 and the PSP games are some bonus missions and the vehicle-based ones for the PS2 version, and challenges from the stages that you complete on the PSP one are their sort of alternative additions to the game, and they're added to pad out the length of it all. In Mission 1, we visit a party interrupted by Octopus agents out to capture the Prime Minister's daughter, and we give chase. Some simple introduction to shooting and an effective start to the game. We chase them up to the roof where we take out a guard with a jetpack and give chase, and a lovely Big Ben stroke Elizabeth Tower for the pedants shot, then destroy a helicopter, catch the Prime Minister's daughter and move on to our second mission. This sees us in a hedge maze looking for some secret information, a bit of stealthing required to take out some guards, but nothing 007 can't handle. We infiltrate the base, where a mysterious man jumps out and kills James Bond, and so From Russia with Love ends. Unless you have already seen the film, and you know this is a fake Bond. So it's a nice nod to the film set piece itself right at the very start.
Record time, Mr. Grant. You are indeed the killer I'm looking for.
When do I get to kill the real James Bond?
After he steals from the Russians their new Lektor decoding machine.
And Bond is going to do it for us.
We assume that's who MI6 will send. There is a girl in the Russian consulate in Istanbul, Tatiana Romanova, who I've ordered to help. She believes I am still with KGB.
Won't MI6 suspect it's a trap?
My reading of the British mentality is that they always see a trap as a challenge. And then you can avenge the death of our Dr. No. Let Bond's death be a particularly unpleasant and humiliating.
I look forward.
We then have a lengthy cutscene based in London, and again based on the movie, where we meet Moneypenny M and then Q, where some more training is involved in learning to use our laser watch and general gadgetry. Then it's off to the gypsy camp from the movie for Mission 3.
Of course, girls do fall in love with pictures of film stars.
But not a Russian cipher clerk with a file photo of a British agent.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
The door, 007. Open it. Begin your training.
Congratulations, 007. Your training is complete. Now use this device to get yourself to Istanbul.
An airline ticket. How ingenious.
I expect you to return my equipment, along with the Lector device, in pristine condition.
I'll bring it back. From Russia with love. He's a lucky man, the chief's son.
So let's protect Kerim Bey. Bond's Istanbul contact from the film. From a gunner who's trying to shoot him after the famous knife fight from the film is over. After taking them out and some more guards, we need to rescue the hostages, so we need to find gas masks for 2 of the rooms, which, to be honest, is equipping is a bit of a nightmare since you have to go into a menu. Like, it's effectively going to pausing in an inventory in its own way. It just feels a little bit old school when you go from playing a more modern game, obviously. Save the 4 hostages, then we move on to protect Kerim with a sniper rifle from fire all around in mission 4. The sniper alley is just one long escort mission, and as much fun as that sounds, to be honest, with not much else to say about it, it is just a long, slightly boring escort mission.
Once again, my friend, I'm in debt to you for saving my life.
Don't take it personally, Kerim. It's the Lecter I'm after.
And you shall have it. My son has arranged your meeting with Tatiana Romanova.
Oh, in that case, I'd say we're even.
Mission 5 sees us protecting Tatiana after fighting our ways through to her. Then some more gas mask fun with switches to flick, Q-copters to send to blow up switches, though this gadget feels a little tacked on. And now we work our way through to the elevators and onto mission 6. We are now on a train just like the film, and have to fight our way through it, escorting Tatiana again, so another point of frustration with not following or protecting herself. But some more cover shooting, fun, fighting our way through the carriages until we find Douglas Red Grant in the game, Douglas Grant being his name in the film, full name in the film. Boss fight awaits for details, but it's a little more the same jetpack sort of action as before. I'll show a little bit on the screen now.
You're next.
In the last part, we move to the Octopus base, a climactic level. It's a culmination of more jetpack fighting action, more fighting in a fun final level. It is a nice one to finish on, more switches to flick, bad guys to take out, and then a final boss, a multi-stage affair to take on for the end of the game. Now my thoughts on all of this, the game is definitely a mixed bag on PSP. It doesn't outstay its welcome, though it is a little bit short. Some more challenges would have been welcomed here and on the PS2 there is extra length added to the game. These come in the form of some additional missions that you have to unlock by doing the Bond moments available in the game. What I would say about it is the additional sections in the full title, the PS2 version of the game, were really just mostly vehicle-based missions. So there was a couple based around the boat, and one based around, and a few missions based around the car. All in all, the car was incredibly twitchy till you mess around with the analog settings to get it somewhere near, but it feels very light and it's not much fun to do. And the boat missions are absolutely frustrating due to them being effectively like a really bad on-rail shooter. Lots of sequences you have to kind of go through to get through it with bad placement of checkpoints, meaning you have to go back through a lot of scene material many times to learn what the path is to then finally get out. Critics back in the day were not very keen on the game, and I can understand why, given the high price for a few missions and a not very long game. But this game feels like a missed opportunity, something that belonged tested on the PSP first, as I talked about before, as a concept. EA really did go all out to get Connery back in the seat, and some excellent voice replacements for the others. And I just think that the whole idea of this game would have been better suited to a slightly lower budget initial test to see whether there was an appetite for such a game. I feel like the budget to push it across all the major systems of the time stretched it a bit thinner than it needed to be, and a game like this would always, I think, have a niche sort of base. It's not it's more of a love letter to Bond than it is a direct game. So it's one of those things, if you don't have an enjoyment of the film, the game itself will only be so lackluster or so much fun for you. It would be something I would love to see them revisit in the day, using such things as they did here as alternative costumes you just pick up, freebies you get for just doing things within a game. It would be nice to see that in the modern world. And I do think that there is untapped potential in an idea like this. Going back through these films, I think I was talking not too long ago on Ken Justice's stream about the feel that Indiana Jones was best suited to always being back in games. I think that same for Star Wars, if I'm being honest, in the Luke Skywalker legacy, because you don't need to digitally CGI these people, they are CGI. You don't need to create some sort of artificial weirdness. And I think that that's the best way for these legacy titles to still survive in the modern world, because I feel that updating them for a relevant market is good and well to a degree, but there's only so many times you can reinvent that before there's nothing left to reinvent it with. Bond's kind of been through all the characters, so maybe a little bit of nostalgia would be nice for Bond for a while. And I wouldn't want to see them CGI Connery onto a digitally recreate Bond that Connery or even Moore or anybody. I want the actor to play them to be important. I think that games are best served through Bond's acting. Slightly old-fashioned. And games are always that little bit behind movies when it comes to storytelling, etc. For obvious reasons, it's not the focus of they can have effective, amazing stories, but it's not something they directly need to have. Now, I do apologise for missing last week. I was really badly ill and incapable of voice recording. I even had a migraine this week. I was upmost last night, so I was struggling a little bit. But I actually do want to discuss my first Christmas gift, so I'm going to work really, really hard to try and get them done before the day. Talking about my own first gaming experience. Now, I incorrectly stated that this was the Mega Drive, but when I sat down, I realised the first machine I bought was a Game Boy, and it was myself and my brothers. We got the two shared between us by my uncle who lived abroad. So to this day, my Game Boy is still Japanese owned because he was working in the Middle East at the time, and I still own Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and various other things that are Japanese games in their basis, which is strange. So I would love to recreate what I had originally, sort of all-in-one cartridge I got from the Middle East back in the day. Unfortunately, I don't own that thing anymore. But I hope to go through some Game Boy games that I've discovered since, and talk about the system itself, and also obviously my own experiences of Christmas in gaming, because it was quite a good story that year as well. I hope you'll all come back next week. Take care, look after yourselves. I'll speak to you all soon.